All right, we are here. We are here. So, super quick question for you.
Right.
Who do you think deserves to be the best leader of the X-Men?
Oh, you just out just
Out the
anyone that I
gate.
pick. Ooh,
Oh yeah, anyone.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This ain't gonna be a very popular decision. Scott Summers, Cyclops. He's the type of leader that you need to like keep people in line. I mean, he doesn't keep Wolverine in line, but he's like one of the only people that can like really check him. So
Mm,
out of all the people, I think I mean, I know he's a jerk. I know just,
mm,
he's not on the level, but I really like Scott Summers. Cyclops is my guy.
mm, that's crazy. That's crazy because you want to know who my answer is?
Oh,
Magneto.
ooh,
So here's my thoughts. Here's my thoughts. All right, because Magneto he a real one. He knows how to get it done, and he knows how to he knows how to say them bar lines. Like, sure, Xavier got the inspirational speeches, but if you want somebody to get it done, I'll lead with Magneto. Thank you, sir. Uh,
gosh,
yes, I am that down bad. I'm in the trenches because
that's
Magneto.
Brotherhood of Mutants 2.0 right there.
Hey. But hey, when you think about it, when we talk about current topic, but hey, we'll get into that later.
We'll get to it. All right, so I'm Demetrius,
And I'm Demetrius,
and Meet Your Meets presents.
the Blurred City Podcast.
All right, so welcome, listeners. This is one that we're super excited for. We are getting into our X-Men bag. A lot of the word mutant has getting dropped more and more in the MCU. We're preparing for it. I believe this year we're actually going to see some more big name mutants start to pop up. I know a few have been teased along. Some people that technically aren't mutants have become mutants. So it's going to be very interesting. But we're doing this preparation and intro because next week we are going to get into a mutant draft. So we're going to have one of our special guests on and then another new guest that we've had. So it's going to be really fun, great time. And we're probably going to wild out just like we did in our anime villain draft. So before we get into it, we always hit you at the legal spiegel.
Yep. So the purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by the respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and do not reflect any biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
All right. So we always typically we're gonna hit you with the what's hot, just what's been new and popping with people. We're recording a little bit later than usual, so we're able to like actually catch up on more stuff that's hot this week, but also stuff that happened last week. So Meech, what do you have?
All right, so I'm just gonna speed through these. All right. So firstly, we got ourselves in the anime scene, Blue Lock gone crazy. Whew. We got One Piece. Is the budget increase still going high? My Hero Academia is
Oh
is
my
going
god.
is going down a path that I was waiting on.
Down bad
We we
academia.
we going Dark Hero Academia. I'm just saying.
Oh boy.
And then finally our boys in Tokyo Revengers. We got the Tokyo Manji.
Yes.
Oman is back, baby, and we already seeing hands being thrown. So I'm
Yes.
super happy about that. Uh, then then moving on, we got the comic book sphere. Of course, I'm always gonna sing praises about Vanish. I'm gonna continue to rep Vanish, KLC Press till the day I die. Next, Dark Web is which is the X-Men and Spider-Man crossover is will be concluding in these
Mm.
next 2 weeks, but it's still going strong and it's wild. It is wild. Still, I Am Batman is legendary, so yeah. And then of course King Spawn is King Spawn's King Spawn is the goat.
Mhm.
And now moving on to TV.
Wait, I got one quick thing. Carnage 2099.
Oh
Did
yeah,
you
yeah.
did you hear about it?
Let me go ahead and tell y'all something. All right, so in the realm of the symbiotes, in this like this year, all right, is the year of symbiotes, the summer of symbiotes, if you will. Because first of all, we got the Extreme Venom verse, which essentially is they taking the Spider Verse and we making it Venomized, baby. And then next up, you got what's teased is the death of the Venomverse, in which Carnage is supposed to be going out here in the multiverse and running every Venom's pocket. So I'm just like, ayo. And then after that, right, as what he teased, we have Carnage 2099. So our boy Miguel O'Hara, the Latino Spider-Man, he is about to face off against Carnage, which I believe is the first time in his ever comic book history that he's gonna actually fight a Carnage. He's always fought a Venom 2099, but not Carnage 2099. So R.I.P. to my boy. But yeah, so that's about to be hype. But now the TV sphere. We all know. Oh, first of all, let me go ahead and talk about Bad Batch. Bad Batch is great. It's legend. It's goated. Especially episode 3. Episode 3 had me in the Clone Wars feels for that entire episode, and I was happy about it. But the next thing I want to talk about, something that dropped, and I was ready for it, but a part of me was not ready for it. The Last of Us.
Oh my God.
As a guy who played the game, I was like, oh boy, I wonder how they're gonna do this adaptation. And Pedro Pascal, give him his flowers.
Yes, bruh. The openings to the show are almost scarier than the actual show itself, because the opening to episode 2 made me want to curl up in a ball and cry.
I was like, and the fact that like it was it started in 03, then jumped to 2023. I'm like, oh nah, if this was me, just in me right now. In fact,
that's what she said.
Yeah. In fact, I had a talk with a certain person who's been on this podcast, a certain Jamie, and she was like, and we both went to the same conclusion. Like, wait, because of the fact that the whole thing started in 03, that means that Lord of the Rings didn't finish. That means Star Wars Episode 3 did not come out. And I was like, oh nah, just because of that alone, just take me out. Just take me out of this earth.
And it's the real fungus people. So
Yep. So better take care of this planet, or else it'll take care of you. And then finally, the last show, I'm sure everybody wants to hear our thoughts on, but I'm reserving my thoughts for a later date. And it's known as the world's most controversial show. A show that is so divisive that people are claiming that it's better than Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh my God.
Oh, sorry. Yes, some people are claiming that it's worse than DBE. So it's only known as Velma. If you know, you know, and we are reserving our judgment on that. But that's all I have to say on it, and that's all I'm saying for the rest of for my what's hot, because yeah,
I have no words. All right, so we kind of didn't get a chance to touch on it last week, but Mandalorian, a new trailer dropped. We're going back to Mandalore people, our baby Yoda,
my son.
Just yes, the Mando. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait till March 1st. Keeping it moving. Megan is getting a sequel, Megan 2.0. I believe it's 2025. Not ready for it. that was an out-of-pocket movie.
Oh my God.
Another one, Cobra Kai season 6, the final season. Wow, they did their thing. That is how you remake or just like continue like a legacy TV show from a movie, or however you want to do it. So it looks like you had something. So that's how you do it. Season 6, that's one way to do it. And you have something here? Or
oh yes, I was gonna say one more trailer that dropped. It is perhaps one of my favorite movies, and that trailer had me feeling different about the people of New York, known as Scream 6.
I had it on my list just for you.
Because nah, don't catch me in New York.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm not like a huge Scream fan, but that new trailer was definitely interesting, and I like how they did the past 2 movies. And then for the final one, before we can kind of move on, Invincible season 2 teaser trailer. Well, it's not really a trailer, but teaser dropped late 2023, more or less, is what they said. So I'm looking forward to it. Invincible. I want to have a conversation if whether Invincible or The Boys is more messed up, but we're gonna reserve our thoughts for that. No, don't make that face, because Invincible went crazy in those final episodes.
You sure we want to have a conversation about that? Because I have a solid answer about that.
I mean, another day. Another
day. Let's keep it moving.
So there's also something big, but it's going to turn into get it off your chest. Big news, people. Attack on Titan is finally getting the final part to the final season, but it is split in half. So we
it's
have
not the final part.
It's the first half of the final part of the final season that is split into 3 parts and has 2 halves. What is going on?
They trying to milk this franchise till the cow no longer produces. Like, this is absurd. I have never seen anything that down horrendous, down tremendous in my life. No way. Because look, the worst I've seen is, whenever a movie would split the final part of its movie in two. Like, yeah, okay, I get that. You just want to milk it for a little more money. You want to make sure, like, hey, you get a good conclusion. All right, I get that. Mm-hmm. But to do it like 4 times?
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. They literally should have just been like season, like part 1 and part 2 or like half of part 2 is season 4. And then they should have just been like part 2 to the end is season 5, final season. It's been 3 years to have the final season. And I get like the studio's taking on a lot of animations and new projects, but at the same time, you can't schedule it better to just like drop it. Like even with Bleach, right? Like it came out after 10 years. And then it was like, we didn't know, it's already said it's going to split it into 4 cores. So you knew, okay, 50 episodes are going to get split up 4 times. Most of us assumed it was going to be back to back to back, but it was like, okay, it's going to come out in July, which is, it's a far way to go, but okay, we understand it's split into 4 parts. We know when it's coming out. So we can just more or less assume it's going to finish in 2024. But with Attack on Titan, the second part of the final season finished last March, and now it's like early 2023, and it's going to finish at the end of 2023, and we didn't know that until like 2 months ago, like a week ago. Like, what are we doing here?
I 100% believe that that they don't know what they're doing, but also the fact that, like, listen, you guys keep doing this, fans are going. You keep doing this to fans, we're gonna mess around, and y'all gonna find out real quickly how much we're gonna not care about the finale, because you're basically doing that to the finale, and also the fact that that people are probably not even gonna remember what happened because you've taken so long.
And you've read the manga, and we talked about it in like our first episode of this year, where it's like the initial ending was redone because it was so controversial, and the new ending is very weird. So the fact that they keep pushing it back and making people annoyed, it's about to get very Game of Thronesy, and you don't want the second rated anime of all time to be Game of Thronesy, even when the initial manga ending is already controversial. So we're just gonna have to sit back. We're gonna have faith, but this is weird. I don't know why they did it like this.
I just have no words. All I say is, when you mentioned Game of Thrones, it also reminded me, like, bro, the fact y'all taking so long to show the finale proves like one of 2 things. Either you guys are drastically changing the ending to where y'all need extra time to figure everything out.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or you are so scared because you're not changing it at all, and you're just like, hold up, we're just gonna try to milk it, and then we'll wait till so that the band-aid can come off smooth rather than just ripping it off.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna try to make it happy as happy as they can make it, but I feel like it's gonna do a disservice to the story, but we don't know. So
all right.
So moving to the next thing, something that I literally saw yesterday. And when I saw it, my radars went off, and I knew 2 people in my life that would absolutely hate this list. So I posted on our Instagram. Let me read it off. It is the Star Wars ranking of the top 10 most powerful Jedi. So I don't know if this is expanded universe, or cinematic universe. But let me read it off. And Meech, I'm gonna set you up. So number one, this is not our list, by the way. Number one, Yoda. Number two, Luke Skywalker. Number three, Rey. Number four, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Number five, Mace Windu. Number six, Qui-Gon Jinn. Number seven, Anakin Skywalker. I can't really say the next one, but number eight, Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Number nine, Kit Fisto. Number 10, Luminari Unduli. Meech, before you get it, when we get to the number three person, be careful. I'm trying to help you like you did when we did the Hulk, episode. I'm trying to save you. Be careful about how you word it, because we don't have Jamie to save us. Be careful about how you word it. Go ahead.
No, I am not holding back. There is no way. This list was trash. What is you doing? First of all, the fact you got Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one.
7.
Number 7, the Jesus of the Force, literally at 7. When and most powerful Jedi, when he could at least be number 2. He could very easily be number 1. But what is you doing? Oh, no. And don't tell me it's because of that. Oh, he lost against Kenobi. It's like, nah, because if this man was, because it's been stated numerous times, and it's even shown in Revenge of the Sith that Obi-Wan was on the back end of that entire fight. Obi-Wan was scared the entire fight, and the only reason he won is not just because of high ground, but was the fact that he knew Anakin so intently, so personally, that they know their each other's fighting styles down to a science, and because of the fact he knows Anakin's ego, he used that against him, which is high ground. But that's not even considering that, right? All right. Let's get on to number 3. Let's get into Rey. I am nobody. Rey Solana. Rey Palpatine. Rey Skywalker, who's not really a Skywalker. You is definitely not purposely on this list. You is number 9. You are number 10. You are 11. You are down tremendous. Like, first of all, you lose like over half of your fights. Ben Solo, Kylo Ren was giving you that work in Rise of Skywalker. And you think you better than, and the writers would think you better than Anakin? And Anakin? Think you up there with Yoda?
I mean, she has Force time.
Do not even start. Because even Baby Yoda is stronger than her. Alright? Baby Yoda is stronger. Kenobi is definitely stronger. Because she ain't gone against okay. So you had Yoda who fought Palpatine, right? And they fought to a standstill. And then you had her.
Mace Windu soloed Palpatine and got cheated. He soloed him.
Hold up. We keeping it going. All right. So we had Mace boloed him. All right. And then we just not going to address the fact that that Luke pretty much, he could have taken him out, but he chose not to, so he could save his father. Okay. So why in the world would Rey, who needed the help of every Force ghost in continuity or in Disney continuity to help fight against Palpatine, yet she's higher than Kenobi, yet she's higher than the literal chosen one who helped her in the fight, yet she's stronger than Mace Windu, who 1v1 boloed him.
She's the Avatar, maybe. I don't know.
Nope, don't even. Also, where's Ahsoka? Where's Ahsoka Tano? This woman who was able to survive Order 66, who was able to fight against Vader, who's able to, to basically survive, just survive. She a real one. trained by the chosen one, yet she's nowhere on the list. Nah, that don't sit right with me. That don't sit right with me. And don't even bring expanded universe into this, because if that was the case, she definitely ain't making it on this list. Star Killer, Revan. Oh nah, no, I'm done. I'm done. Because y'all didn't messed up. Y'all didn't triggered me, and I need to calm down.
Yeah. I have nothing else to add or to say to that. I disagree with the list. So that's why I brought it to people's attention. So one thing I do want to say, I'm going to the Royal Rumble this Saturday with being a big wrestling fan, knowing in the nerd community that there's a lot of crossover. With that, the past week, one of a very popular wrestler, Jay Briscoe, passed away, unfortunately. It's something that definitely hit me. It kind of hit me the same way when Takeoff passed away, where I literally was like, whoa, this don't feel real at the moment. And then just knowing that his daughters were in the accident as well. But survived and going through recovery. So that's something I really want to point out. And just thoughts, prayers to the families.
Yeah, and also not along that, but it was also revealed that a famous YouTuber who goes by the name Slick Goku is Reggie. He does like really famous like funny compilations. You may know like his Slick Goku. Typically he's like pretty much does a VR of Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and he does like a very black, like basically like black performance of that Goku, and he's like very hilarious. But he passed away earlier this week as well. Just rest in peace to him, rest in peace to him, and just condolences to him, and just prayers for his family as well as the entire like Dragon Ball parody community, like especially Prince Vegeta, the YouTuber Prince Vegeta, who was invisible distraught afterwards.
Yeah. So with that, there's no smooth transition. So we're going to take a quick break, reset, and then hit you with the X-Men intro. All right. So coming back with that, we are getting into our X-Men discussion. So this is just going to be our deep dive with it. We're going to get into the different just topics, characters, storylines, any other thing. There's one major thing that we kind of need to even establish at the beginning that's going to lead into next week, and just themes of the show. So starting with that, watchability, readability. How do you feel about the X-Men?
Oh yeah, X-Men is phenomenal. All right. They first appeared in 1963, and just firstly, like, hey, Jack Kirby and Stanley, they decided to knock it out the park.
Goats.
Absolutely. RIP to both of them, because they decided to create one of the most recognizable, one of the most popular. In fact, at a time, they were the most popular. Some would even say they might still be the most popular Marvel team of all time, because of the fact, like, not only because of the fact, like, hey, you get like a massive assortment of characters who have a wide range of abilities that are like very fantastical, and just like, yeah, it's awesome, but just the messages and the things behind them, like, it just makes it much more relatable. And going along with that, right, the X-Men, like, you have a character you can easily graft onto, because they have, like, you think of a particular archetype for a character, or a character that you can relate to and that you think you can find an X-Men or a mutant character who embodies that, and you see like their progression or growth, and it's just like, that's me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're going to get into a lot of the characters. Not everyone's going to get a deeper discussion, but we're going to touch on a lot, because the X-Men is so expansive, and mutants in general. We're going to miss some, but we're definitely going to try to touch on as many as we can. But as you mentioned, like, just there are so many characters in X-Men where it's like, oh, that character, I love them because of this. That character, I love them because of that. That character, ooh, they have a good storyline. They're not that powerful, but ooh, look at just how they progress. Look at how they move things along. So with that, like, even the X-Men TV shows, like, and there's been so many, like, obviously there's the OG one, but then there's like the kind of anime style ones that like don't get talked about as much, but are super cool. The different costume color designs, like you mentioned, when they were created, then the popularity of the 90s where like just like color popped a lot in the 90s. It was perfect for the X-Men and superheroes in general. And just like even with like the likability, like for say an Iron Man who a lot of people didn't really care about before the MCU, like you're just not going to watch that if you don't really care. But for X-Men, it's like, okay, you might not like four of the X-Men, but you like the fifth one. And this is a prominent character or they have a storyline and arc that you care about. So, oh, I'm going to link up with them. So that's definitely easily watchable. I can't think of too many like X-Men only games that I played like on systems, but you could probably know that more than me. So and the
Oh,
character and the guest we have next week definitely knows, huh?
oh yeah. Like when it comes to the games, right? Of course, there's the arcade game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the beat 'em up, like that was just
Marvel
scrumdiddlyumptious.
Capcom. I love that one.
Yep, Marvel v. Capcom. In fact, X-Men versus Street Fighter, which was the precursor to Marvel v. Capcom.
Ooh,
So if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have gotten Marvel versus Capcom to this day.
that's
Uh,
dope.
but then there's another couple X-Men games that were precursors to ones that you love. They are called X-Men Destiny and then X-Men Destiny 2 Rise of Apocalypse. And the thing about those is that the reason both of those are great is because they both lead into the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. So they're
Ultimate Alliance is dope.
yep, they're the precursors to those games and then also probably two of the best games focusing on a singular character, and this one's based on like one of the worst movies of all time, which is the X-Men Origins Wolverine, which like while that movie is garbage, the
Yeah.
game is god tier. It is god tier because they literally do Wolverine right
That's
and
good.
everything about him. I still play that game. Like I'm not even gonna count with you. If I feel like I need to just bolo people with Wolverine, I just pop in that game. And then finally, there is the Deadpool game.
Yes,
Woohoo!
yes.
The Deadpool game is another highly popular one. It's helped put Deadpool in the spotlight. So yeah, like you got all of that, and yeah, that's all I had on that.
Yeah, so then we can get into the themes, which I think the TV show did a great job, and then the initial movies also, like the first two did a good job as well before it kind of, well, the first three in general did a good job before it got very superhero-y later
Hmm.
on, and then the quality of the movies kind of dropped. But what kind of themes stand out to you?
Perhaps the biggest one, and the one that is basically the focal point is just the theme of discrimination and racism, because of the fact like the X-Men came out at a time like during in the 60s. So race relations were at all-time tense. And like this comic was like a perfect illustration to show that, especially when it comes to, like certain antagonists who like certain antagonists we may get into who like basically embody like the racist philosophy, and just seeing messages like in fact like there was a thing in the first episode of the X-Men 90 series where it's like, why are you doing this to us? And they go, because you were born. I'm like, hey yo, like
Yeah.
like that's one of the first times you like as a child, at least for the 90s kids, that we got exposed to like, that's the way you can get the kids to understand about that, like that, hey, discrimination and racism exist in this time.
Yeah.
And then when we get into like the top two characters, like the main two characters of X-Men are literally based on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Like
Yeah.
just plop them right in the same scenario, and you're just like, oh dang, that's literally them.
Mhm.
Just with a new coat of paint and some powers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to touch too deep on them yet, but where it's different is that in terms of the villain, and what obviously we're talking about Professor X and Magneto if you haven't watched X-Men before, but just like it's a different dynamic. It isn't, oh, I'm trying to take over the world. It's just like philosophical differences that I really like how First Class does it, and then Days of Future Past, where it's like it's a philosophical difference in why we disagree and why we're beefing, not like, oh, I'm just evil. So that's definitely like thinking. Another thing is like acceptance, like especially I know like X3, The Last Stand gets a lot of crap, but it did such a great job in terms of just like who am I and like should I accept myself? Am I like a very like me being a mutant? Should I accept myself? And that's something that we've talked about a lot of times on the podcast of just like, oh, should I like who am I? Should I accept myself? Do I need to hide who I am? One of the biggest scenes I remember at the beginning, Angel literally cutting his wings off because his dad is like a senator, right?
Yep.
And just like cutting his wings off so like he hides it from his dad. And then another character I'm not going to touch too deep, but Rogue, just in general. So with that, I really like the terms of acceptance. And then again, like what it's also good, just the themes, but then it expands into like you still keep the superhero aspect of it. So just like moving forward, something since we were having our draft next week that even us we were trying to decide is clarifying the different like what is a mutant, so clarifying the difference between a mutant and a mutate.
Yeah. So firstly, let's get into what a mutant is. A mutant is basically somebody who was born with an X gene, typically passed down by their parents, and they develop superpowers and supernatural abilities around puberty. Of course that does mean like they can produce it earlier. Some people are early bloomers, some are late bloomers. Like that part like is very clear. But as long as you have an X gene and you're born with your powers, i.e., like there's no external factor whatsoever for them to activate, boom, you're considered a mutant.
Yeah.
And but then on the other side of that, which is a mutate, is where you essentially just born a regular human. You're born basically one of us, all right?
Yes.
But then something happens to where you then gain powers.
Mhm.
So, for example, the biggest example of all, Peter Parker.
Yep.
Peter Parker, Spider-Man, while a lot of the times like he was affiliated with the X-Men, like he'd be around them a lot, technically not a mutant because of the fact he's human, and then he got bit by a spider and then gained powers.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like Wolverine, he literally he was born with his powers, and then in childhood it developed, and that's when it was activated because the X gene was activated roughly around his puberty.
Yes, and
So
his actual power is like the like obviously he gets injected later in life, but he's born with his mutated powers.
so that's a clear distinction between mutant, born with your powers, versus mutate, you acquire powers later.
Yeah, so because that was the conversation we had, because I was thinking about, okay, one of the rounds, how do we do this? And in some cases, they offhand mention, okay, Spider-Man, you're a mutant. But it's like, I know he is not technically considered a mutant most of the time. So it's like distinguishing that. And then also, we'll get into next week, but MCU wise, in terms of Miss Marvel, in the comics, she's inhuman. Now it's kind of it seems he's going to be a mutant. So we'll cover that later next week probably. But just like that was the big difference. So now we're going to get into the OG X-Men.
All right. So first up is, of course, the leader of the X-Men, the Godfather, if you will, is Professor Charles Xavier with the
Yes, sir.
power, with the Omega level power of telepathy and mind reading. So he is again, he's the leader. He is the Martin Luther King Jr. of the X-Men verse because he's focusing on basically trying to get people to accept mutants, have mutants and humans coexist, and to like live free with no discrimination, none of that. Of
Mhm.
course, there are times where people have tried him, they have tested him so much that he breaks at times.
Mhm.
But a lot of those were relegated to alternate universes or him getting possessed or things like that. Also, big thing to note is that most of the time he is paralyzed from the waist down and is in a wheelchair or a hover chair.
Mhm.
And because I guess if you an Omega level telepath and you can walk, that is OP. But yes, like he is the leader of the X-Men. He's typically a benevolent guy. Of course, has some dark sides to him. But is roughly all around like just wants mutants to thrive. And of course, nowadays he can walk, but that's another story for another day.
Yes, and he's head of the Xavier School for the Gifted Youngsters. One of the leaders of that, recruiting a lot of the original X-Men. So with that, I just really love his compassion towards people. Just with that, like he doesn't really have a lot of hate towards people. And then even with the mutants, where we'll get to it later, but Magneto, he is more of the, oh, I see you're wronged. Come here, and then we can take our revenge upon people. Whereas Professor X is kind of the, I see you're hurting. I see you need guidance in your life. Let me like lead you to a certain path of good, at least, you know? So with that, I think, and then like his relationship with Wolverine is one of the most warm things I've ever experienced in my life. And we need to start a petition that Xavier is no longer allowed to die in any movies. X3, Logan, Multiverse of Madness. We can't kill him anymore because X3 and Logan had me distraught.
Yeah, one of the best deaths in those two movies. At least the Logan one had me crying, like
Bruh.
legit. But
The
then
level of trust and affection he had in his eyes because he thought that was, oh my gosh.
But then Multiverse of Madness, I'm just like, bro, why? Why you have to do him that dirty? But yeah, so like in Charles Xavier, one thing I also want to know is the fact like of just how much respect Magneto has for him
Yes.
because of the fact that like, okay, they may have opposite ideologies and they may be on opposing sides like a lot of the times until recently, but essentially like they have such a respect that whenever like something bad happens to Professor X or he dies, Magneto is usually the one that's distraught and heartbroken. He's like, "Hey, I respected this man. We may have had ideological differences, but I respect him more than anybody else."
And that's my friend. Well, was my friend too. So
Yes. And I would say like, yeah, and he is my friend, even though we have differences. Like, and because like Magneto would also like routinely try to keep convincing him. They keep trying to
yes.
routinely convince each other to swap sides. That's how you
Yes.
know like that friendship is real because you ain't gonna let your brother go astray.
Yes. And because even in like X2, X-Men United, and like and in the comics, it's like, okay, we have philosophical differences, but if something is happening to the world, we can team up. Whenever the point is. Or if I'm about to do something wrong, I'm gonna give you a phone call. I'm gonna be like, I need you to chill because I'm about to wreck shop. But yeah, so just a lot of respect for Charles Xavier, Professor X. Moving to easily the most popular X-Men of all time, top five Marvel character of all time, I would say as well. Maybe top three. It's him, Spider-Man, and maybe the Hulk make up the top three.
And
And
yeah, three members of the new Fantastic Four. That's crazy.
so so Wolverine, Weapon X.
Yes, Wolverine, Weapon X, Logan, James Howlett. He has many names, but the one thing is that he's very good at what he does, and what he does ain't nice. You know him. We all know Hugh Jackman, huge jacked man. Like even though like canonically he's like actually really short, like 5'3".
But still muscly.
Yes. So Wolverine, of course, James Howlett, Canadian. He has the mutant ability of bone claws, which then gets coated in adamantium, and a superhuman healing factor, perhaps one of the most powerful healing factors because of the
Outside of Deadpool.
outside of Deadpool, because of the fact like, hey, it's his healing factor that's keeping him alive from the adamantium in his bones, and the
Mm-hmm.
thing that's keeping him long living because he's actually a really old character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like he's older than Xavier, and when it comes to that, right? Wolverine is again one of the most is the gruff, tough one. Like he does what needs to get done.
Mm-hmm.
He will kill. he will maim, and he is sassy while doing it, and it's hilarious. But of course, like when it comes to the character of Wolverine, we're not just talking about Wolverine. You also got to factor in his daughter, Laura Kinney, who's also his clone, who's X-23, but also takes up the mantle of Wolverine. But both of them have the same powers, like the same exact powers.
I thought of that Logan scene.
Daddy. But but
Oh man.
yes, but yes. So like Wolverine is hands down the most popular of the X-Men characters, and also like it's because of him that a whole bunch of like what Marvel is based around him. Like he been with Shield, he been with Hydra because they mind wiped him. Like a whole bunch of like almost every organization Wolverine was part of, willingly or unwillingly,
Mhm.
because they recognize just how much of a savage killer he is.
And he is, I would say, consistently, besides Spider-Man, one of the best team ups. Like whenever it's like somebody and Wolverine or somebody versus Wolverine, or like, oh, this is the episode Wolverine pops up, easily one of the best as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because like he represents that rough gruffness, and also the fact that loner attitude. Even though he's been in so many teams, it's kind of like the Batman syndrome's like you claim to be a loner, but you got like all these Robins, and Wolverine, you claim to be a loner, but you on the X-Men, the Avengers, you're part of the new Fantastic Four with Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and Hulk, and you got I'm again that new Fantastic Four roster is kind of gas. That is
Yes.
gas, but we're not talking about them today. You can tell that's one of my favorite teams. And then and also like Alpha Flight, like just well, not Gamma Flight, but like Alpha Flight. So you're a bunch of teams, okay? But and you also led the X-Men for times as well, especially like
Yes.
at a time when Charles Xavier died in the comics, and
Mhm.
Scott Summers kind of on a wild rogue path, so you needed somebody to lead, and it was you.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, how did it take so long to get a good Wolverine movie? How is that possible? I
Well,
don't understand it.
it's because just like his origins, it gets muddy, it gets convoluted super quickly because of all like the memory shenanigans, all the mind wipes and all of that. Like he has such a messed up past that like it's hard to adapt. So that's why I don't even count X-Men Origins Wolverine whenever I do like X-Men viewings, or specifically a Logan viewing. I
Mhm.
do not consider that movie at all, because like everything before then is like, yeah, that's all you need.
How do you feel about the Wolverine?
I actually think it's decent. I actually
Mhm.
like it. And that's one of like the best Wolverine stories was him going to Japan, and at least in the comics. So, and like just seeing him in Japan was awesome. I get like people think it's like a very mid to like in the lower end of the spectrum, but I think like it's a good solid one. Like it's one of those I still would watch,
That's
unlike
fair.
the other movie.
That's fair. I think it's just because the very next movie is an S tier movie. So it's like, dear Lord.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we get that was our technically our freak out geek out section because we could talk about Wolverine like the entire time. So we're gonna have to kind of speed through. We have a lot of X-Men on the list. We're gonna combine the next two because they're super powerful, but Jean Grey, aka the Dark Phoenix at times, and then also Storm or Aurora Monroe Storm.
All right. So Jean Grey, one of the original X-Men on the original roster, she also is an Omega level telepath. But whenever she's possessed by the dark black air forces themselves, oh sorry, I meant the Dark Phoenix, she goes out of pocket.
She is
All
the
right.
Alpha and Omega level mutant.
The Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. She is her. And
Indeed.
she is just supremely powerful. Of course, people like to clown on her because she's usually like the weakest one of the team, because she doesn't have full control of her telepathy, unlike Xavier. But
Mhm.
but Dark Phoenix changed everything for her, and now
Yes.
she's consistently one of the most powerful. All right. And then next up, right, is Aurora Monroe Storm, another one of a sister,
The two maidens, yeah.
the sister,
Matriarchs.
former wife of Black Panther, of T'Challa, to a queen.
Hmm.
She ruled. She actually ruled Wakanda for a while. She also led the X-Men for a while, and she has the ability, of course, to control the weather, which I think is supremely OP. Because like, hey, tornado, 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 hurricane, R.I.P. Okay,
Lightning, you can't react fast enough.
exactly, R.I.P. So she is also consistently one of the most powerful. In fact, in one of the most recent X-Men titles called X-Men Red, her alongside a couple other mutants were able to completely terraform Mars.
Jeez.
Like like her and just like two other mutants were able to completely make Mars hospitable to life. How do you do that? Like how? Queen.
Also played by the lovely Halle Berry, which wiped out the Catwoman stench from her career.
Oh, this was before that. So,
I mean, she played it consistently after, but yes, you are right.
yeah, this was before that stench, but she recovered. All right. So,
Yes,
Queen, Queen, we do not tolerate any slander against Aurora Monroe.
absolutely not. Moving on to the next two. Two of the more, I would say one of them is definitely one of the more controversial X-Men, and then another, one of my most popular and one of my favorite when we get to the Blue X-Men Beast. So we have Cyclops, the one that is hated on a lot, Scott Summers, and then we have Beast, also Hank,
All right. We got Scott Summers.
the hater of haters.
Oh boy, where do I begin with this fool? All right, so you know Cyclops, another one of the OGs. He has optic blast, which the explanation for like his optic blast kind of changes, but optic blast. Of course, he has to wear a visor, otherwise it
It's
takes
over.
it off. It's wraps for everybody, and like he's typically the leader, and he's typically the one that most goes rogue a lot, almost tying Wolverine in the amount of times because of the fact he is such an unlikable guy. All right. And but at least he calmed down. Like, especially in recent comics, like in current today, he's actually like really solid. He's a solid character. Especially in Dark Web right now. He kind of doing his thing. But yeah, Scott Simon, he's the original leader. Like,
Mhm.
of course, there's Charles Xavier. He's the overleader. He's the Godfather, if you will.
Yes.
And then there's Scott. Scott's the number two until like he gets replaced by Storm and then Wolverine
Hmm.
and then Magneto a bunch of times. But yeah, he typically like to be the Superman archetype, but then he gets messed up in a whole bunch of ways.
Very try hard. I think, and he was also the first superhero to get turned to dust on screen.
Woo!
Lord have
Woo! Woo! Oh dang, you didn't have to go there. Uh,
mercy.
but now we go from one of the most hated characters to one of your most beloved.
Yes.
But in my case, I gotta be honest.
Oh no.
I gotta be honest because right now in the comics, he turned to one of my most hated
Mm.
because of what he did, what he's doing right now. All right, so Beast, Hank McCoy.
Yes,
He's
sir.
he's also another member of the OG X-Men. He of course had the ability to be kind of like originally he was just like strong, athletic. He was kind of like a beast slash monkey man. But then of course he tried to take away his powers, which of course the Marvel gods, whenever somebody tries to get rid of their own powers, ends up screwing them over more. Looking at you, Peter Parker. And he ends up becoming a blue furry first monkey man, then like an ape, then a beast, just whatever. All right. And when it comes to Beast, all right, he's maybe like one of the smarter ones, one of the more it's like one of the more like interesting ones. In fact, I want to let you talk about him before I get into why he's one of the most hated right now.
I just know that even in X2, X3, well, like even in first class, like he was introduced as always smart, just an absolute like, class personified. But I love it in the original trilogy because what we talked about with acceptance, is quote unquote one of the good ones. You see him in a suit. He's talking to lawyers. He has a tie on. He's like prim and proper with it, and he's like trying to advocate on behalf of the X-Men with the Professor X kind of touch on it. So like the blue design is really cool to me, like growing up. So I really like that. And when we get to another blue character, I'll talk about him. But just with that, that's why I really like Beast growing up, because then when it was time to turn up, he could turn up. So why are we hating on him now?
All right, so what he did is absolutely down horrendous. So, of course, like right now in X-Men, all the X-Men and mutants are supposed to be united, right? He ends up becoming in charge of X-Force, so essentially the government, like basically the FBI, the secret agents of the X-Men verse, they go out do all the hard to kill missions, all right? Beast had decided to slowly but surely start becoming corrupted with power, and it's because he's gaining more and more authority to do whatever is needed to be done, and faces like zero repercussions for his actions. Like one time he ends up like arresting one of his fellow mutants and then parades him like around the Krakoan island on like hey, this is your fellow mutant, he betrayed us, here he is, like I'm basically just gonna like execute him like in front of everybody, and then it's proven that he's innocent, and of course Wolverine smacked him for it. And speaking of Wolverine, what he did to Wolverine is out of pocket, all right? Like essentially Wolverine, he got himself caught up in a situation. Beast came there to try to break him out, but in reality he killed him. Like he killed Wolverine and then like revived him, but revived him in such a way to where Wolverine has no memories. So he's using him as kind of his slave / lapdog to basically just go out and assassinate folks. That is why we hate on Beast right now, because he is out of pocket.
Is this Dark Web?
No, this is the current X-Men title.
So it's pure canon. Oh, okay.
Oh no, Dark Web is still canon too, but
yeah, but like, okay. Wow, I feel hurt now. So we're just going to transition into other X-Men and mutant associates. So we're not going to cover in depth with a lot of them, but there's nobody else we can start with other than this guy, Deadpool.
Wade Wilson, the our lovely little parody of Deathstroke, Wade Wilson. Yes. And we stand Deadpool, all right? Like this comedic god, like he ain't no Jesus, he's a god of comedy. Yeah. Like the fourth wall breaks is insane. He is like hands down perhaps one of the best characters. I love his broship with Spider-Man. I love him just messing around with folks, because when Deadpool enters the scene, you don't know what's gonna happen.
No.
Like he's that unpredictable, and that is such a far cry from how he was initially introduced, because he was introduced as literally just Deathstroke, and then they made him the funny one, and I'm just like,
you mean X-Men Origins?
We did not talk about that. I only know that he appears in Deadpool, played expertly by Ryan Reynolds. That's the only time I've seen Deadpool in my entire life.
That's fair.
Because like Ryan Reynolds was meant to be Deadpool.
Absolutely.
Like you think of perfect casting, that is it.
I'm looking forward to that movie. Him and it has to be like the entire movie. Him and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Oh yes, but yeah, of course, like he has regeneration, the likes of which you've never seen, to where even if his limbs cut off, they regenerate into a separate person. Like, bruh.
I have a question.
Yep.
Can you explain his teleportation power? It is off and on when he can do it.
Okay, so technically it's not he doesn't have the power. What he does have is that he has like a miniature imp that like kind of the same race as a Nightcrawler's dad, that he just like grabs and like, hey, teleport me here, and he just teleports.
Okay.
Like literally that he just keeps basically a slave to use for teleportation.
That's wild.
I don't know how else to describe it.
Things, because like a lot of the times They haven't done it in the movies yet. I wonder if they will in the third one. But a lot of times in the games, more specifically, you see him teleport
Yep.
off and on. So
Yep.
so with that, yeah, him and his relationship with Spider-Man is so weird, but it's so awesome. But moving to the next one, one of my other favorite mutants, Rogue.
Baby girl.
Rogue has one of the most saddest, just like powers, backstories. I just like even with it. So for those that aren't familiar, Rogue, if she touches you, not only does she steal your powers, she essentially steals your life force. So yeah.
Yeah, and the first time they manifested, she was with her boyfriend, and they were about to get it on, and he was in a coma. So yeah, that was pretty traumatizing, right?
Yeah.
Another thing is that like she actually originally was in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants before, and like while she was an evil mutant, she ends up like attacking Carol Danvers, and that's where and like permanently absorbed like her powers of flight and super strength.
Ooh.
So, which has been adapted yet. I'm really hoping so because Rogue is out here. She's a Southern girl, at least in the '90s show. Like she a Southern Belle girl, and we love her for it. Of course, we know that white hair or
A
that white
streak,
streak in
yes.
her hair. Woo! I love me some Rogue, but I could be here all day, but
Yes.
gotta keep it moving.
One more thing, because I kind of mentioned it earlier. With that, her entire arc in the first trilogy, culminating in her like giving up her powers because she didn't she wanted to be with Iceman, I believe. She
Hmm.
just wanted to be normal. She was tired of hurting people. And then even I believe in the first one, my memory is kind of off that Wolverine was the first one to like kind of pick her up and take her to the
Yep.
academy. So Rogue is just a great story. So, like you said, moving forward, this is actually one of my number two X-Men that I love. Nightcrawler.
Let's go.
Teleportation. Let's
Let's
get
go,
it.
baby. Let's get into Nightcrawler. Firstly,
Yes.
let's talk about X2 and that
Yes.
beginning sequence, because that was just mm, that's how you do Nightcrawler justice. He is hands down one of the best.
Absolutely.
And he's also one of the most religious. Because even though he looks like a demon, he's like I believe he's devout Catholic.
Oh,
So
yeah, I believe so.
yeah, he's either Catholic or Christian. I don't know which. I'm pretty sure it's Catholic, but he is like one of the best. He of course said teleportation. He's good with a sword. He's just one of the nicest ones.
Best
I,
design. One of the best designs.
oh yeah, yeah. He's one of the best designs. He's also one of the kindest ones. Like he
Uh-huh.
will offer you a second chance, and then if you try to bolo him, he will bolo you.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Definitely they need to have more Nightcrawler in any mutant like who Kevin Feige, Nightcrawler. They kind of like dropped off him after X3.
Yeah.
Bring him back completely,
Oh
please.
yeah, yeah, and also in the comics, like he formed a whole religion on for the X-Men, and it like his whole title was kind of goated because he fought one on one on literally one of the most powerful like villains,
Mm.
and while he died, he still won, and then got resurrected. But
I
yeah,
mean, that's comics for you. All
oh yeah,
right. So the next two are going to kind of speed. Well, the next ones we're just going to kind of speed along. Colossus, our favorite metallic friend. With that, I don't know how deep you want to get into them because I'm just going to speed through these.
oh yeah. I'll say like Colossus, great character. Shame that Kitty Pryde did him dirty on that wedding day. And but we're gonna get into her later. But yeah, that's all I can say. He a good guy, and also in the comics, he was actually Juggernaut for a while.
That makes sense. And then he's played such a big role in the Deadpool movies
Yep,
that I wasn't expecting, which I really love. The fact
yep,
that Deadpool is like completely standing him hard.
yep. Oh yeah, but
So with that popular one, that's like an underground popular one, where it's like one of those things where like you're not a real X-Men fan unless you like this character, Gambit. The one that we were kind of we were hoping for a Channing Tatum one that's not happening anytime soon. And now that Fox no longer owns the X-Men. So, but yeah, anything you want to say about Gambit?
I mean, Gambit pretty great. He has power of injecting things with kinetic energy and making it go boom. Most of the time, he just injects it into playing cards. He throws it. He's also a Cajun boy, and his marriage with Rogue while I initially hated him for it because you took Rogue away from the peoples, it even though wow, that was so down bad of me. I'm sorry, but
We starving out here.
that was so down bad of me. I'm sorry, folks. No, I'm not. But like the marriage between him and Rogue is so adorable, and it's like it's one of the few marriages that hasn't been taken out. I hope to God it don't. And it's like it's so wholesome and adorable. Like think of the marriage between Spider-Man and Mary Jane, and that's basically Rogue and Gambit if both of them have superpowers.
That's sweet. And next one, Kitty Pride. One that actually Kitty Pride, I didn't know this until like after the movie came out. Days of Future Past is her storyline, not
Yep.
Wolverine. So that was
Yep.
something interesting to find out.
Oh yeah, Katie Pride, of course, ability to of intangibility, and she's actually a really great character. As you mentioned, Days of Future Past is her storyline. She's the one that gets sent back in time and possesses her younger body. Of course, they made it Wolverine because marketing. And like,
Yes.
but yeah, she's a great character. In fact, in the Ultimate comic book, she actually dates Spider-Man.
Mm.
So yeah, like she's pretty great. But again, but the one thing I can't let her slide for is doing Colossus dirty, but I guess that kind of makes sense considering they have like a 10-year age difference and they were about to get married, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna say nothing about that.
All right. So next two we can group them together: Iceman and Firestar.
Ah,
So
yes, the amazing friends.
yes.
All right, so Iceman, of course, Bobby Drake, of course, notoriously known for being closeted gay, and then came out. Of course, he has the powers of ice, and is actually an Omega level mutant because the fact he doesn't just control ice, he controls the temperature of just molecules themselves. So if he wanted to, he could literally just freeze the water in your veins and kill you like that. But of course he's not that smart to think of strategies like that. Uh, but yeah, he's a pretty great character, and I just love him in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. In fact, that still gets referenced to this day, even in Dark Web. And then the next person, Firestar, created for Spider-Man and Your Amazing Friends, and she's literally just Human Torch. Like she has
Mhm.
basically the same powers. Only difference is that hers is just radiation based. Like she produces like microwave radiations, which comes in the form of fire. Uh, and
Nice.
and she's a great character. Of course, she, like you said, debuted in that show and then rolled into comics. And she's just great friends with Parker, and that's all I gotta say about her.
What's the one, the guy I know he was in the movies, but he had fire too. What was his name?
Pyro.
Okay, Pyro. So that was that's who I was trying to think about. So next one we have Angel. I already mentioned him, just like him cutting the wings off was like a really impactful scene in the movies. And him getting recruited in Age of Apocalypse, or is that what it was called?
Yeah.
So like mentions just how cool Angel is and everything. So you want to touch on him at all?
Oh yeah. And also Angel is the last one of the OG X-Men from the 60s that we're gonna talk about. As you mentioned, like he pretty much goes through it a lot because of the fact his powers is literally just angel wings, so he can fly. Doesn't have super strength or anything like that. And of course, people dog on him because of that.
Mhm.
So much so, like most of the time you see him, he either gets his wings broken, gets them ripped off, and and then he has to go dark archangel with the metal wings, and
Yeah.
he just goes rogue, like almost Gray Dark Phoenix levels of rogue whenever he goes archangel, and it is wild. But
Mhm.
but yeah, good character.
And then for the next character, I see you moved them from where they are originally. So Cable.
Ah yes, Cable, aka the son of Scott Summers,
Mm.
and and not Jean Grey, but Madeline Pryor, who's
Phew.
Jean Grey's clone. Uh,
Jeez Louise,
just
guy.
just yeah, Sky. But then again, this was post Dark Phoenix saga, so Jean was dead.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
yeah, one thing we gotta know about Jean is that she dies so many times. But we're
Like
not
the
talking about
Phoenix, she rises from the ashes.
every time. But yeah, Cable is a child. as a child, he gets like the techno-organic virus, has to be transported to the future where they can cure him. And of course, he's basically Omega level too, but
Mhm.
the techno-organic virus within him kind of just shunts his powers, similar to how the adamantium is shunting Wolverine's adam- healing factor. But he's actually a super powerful character, but best known for just time travel shenanigans, seen in Deadpool 2. And yeah, just great guy.
Who would you say is the most popular X-Men besides Wolverine?
Oh man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. You took Wolverine out of the equation. But I would there's a lot. There's a lot of cool options. I would probably say in terms of like likability and probably like popularity, I'd have to give it to Storm because
Yeah.
she's she's one of the most prominent like female characters. She prominent African American well, not African American, African females, and she has dope powers, and she married T'Challa,
Mhm.
and she led the X-Men, and she has that no nonsense attitude. Like you know her when you see her.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking. The only, I mean, Professor X kind of, but I feel like just because he doesn't fight, like he doesn't get elevated like that. So, but yeah, I would say definitely Storm because all the others kind of have like an off and on relationship with morality. But either Storm and then Nightcrawler, I would say, like in terms of popularity.
Yeah.
Obviously, Deadpool isn't an X-Men, so I can't count
Well,
him as that.
I mean, he is sometimes, but
Sometimes, yeah.
he's like a reserve member.
Yes. So with that, we're gonna. Oh yeah, a few other questions. Best X-Men storyline of all time.
I would give it to either Dark Phoenix or Days of Future Past, but my heart and soul
Mm-hmm.
goes to the House of X and Powers of 10 storyline. So the current
Oh,
era of X-Men, because of the fact like it revitalized it for this current generation. It brought every mutant back from the dead, and it gives spotlight to every single mutant, and so many like just ingenious retcons. Like it's hands down one of the best of the decade, and I have to give it its flowers. There's no other way I can't give it its flowers.
that's fair. I was thinking about House of M, because I heard that one goes
Ooh,
crazy. I just haven't like the entire thing, but I heard that goes crazy. I was also thinking of Days of Future Past because it's such a big one, but I do think Old Man Logan had so much more mileage than I thought it originally would have. And just like that backstory and leading into the future, and the fact that like he gets played on a lot with that is it's like the ultimate final gunslinger type of storyline. And I
yeah,
really like that.
yeah.
And yeah, so it kind of leads into my next question. Besides Logan and excluding Deadpool, what are the best X-Men movies?
Man, why you have to do me that dirty?
Logan's the best X-Men movie
I
by
was like,
far.
why you have to do me that dirty? It's a tie between these two. It's X2
X2 is good.
and Days of Future Past. It's between those two, slightly leaning more towards Days of Future Past. Be-
Yeah, I would say Days of Future Past because like First Class was like the reboot and like it was like okay, but then Days of Future Past was like the shot in the arm for like the X-Men cinematic universe, and then everything after that, besides Logan, because I think Logan came out after that,
yep, Logan
was
and Deadpool came out after
yeah.
those.
Besides that, everything else was trash. So, but Days of Future Past, just like that storyline, the philosophical, they brought it back to the forefront. How again they propped up Mystique's storyline. That was probably more because Jennifer Lawrence was hired as Mystique, but you know that was
Yeah,
smart marketing as she was coming off of Hunger Games. So wise to do that. And then just like that storyline, seeing the X-Men get absolutely bodied by characters that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So with that, we're just going to go into our sponsor for our first sponsor for the day. So our sponsor for the day is Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Want to learn and develop your powers? Want to be a part of a community that accepts you and embraces you for who you are? Come to the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. You'll be better prepared than the new mutants so you can have your own movie, that doesn't bomb. And then you can also be able to break out of an asylum at any time. And you also get free photographs from the original X-Men. Our characters, Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Apply now. All right, coming back. Now we're about to go on the other side of the X-Men. It's about to get crazy. We're about to get into the Brotherhood of Mutants. So the one that we've been teasing, touching on, we didn't want to get too deep in. So this is a mutant that maybe you can argue with Deadpool, but it's the second most popular mutant of all time in the entire X-verse. So we're talking about Magneto himself.
Ah, yes, Magneto, Eric Lenscher, Max Eisenhart. He's hands down the best. He is the best. He is him. I would like to sing my praises to Magneto because like he has hands up the one of the best backstories. I mean, as a Jew in World War II Germany, I mean, it doesn't get more out of pocket than that. Like, and that's when his mutant powers developed while he was in a concentration camp. Oh nah, and because of that, I'd bolo everybody too. In fact, he had one of the best lines in X-Men First Class, which was, "I was at the mercy of men following orders, never again." Like you know he was on some timing, and Magneto has again one of the best powers, which is over magnetism, which he just controls any and all metal. Like it doesn't matter what it is, he can control it.
Yeah, and Age of Apocalypse, when we found out how Omega level mutant he was, where he can literally just like tear the earth apart if he wanted to, is insane. And even like in the comic sphere, he absolutely bodies Wolverine every time. And the fact that there are certain ways that he killed Wolverine that are absolutely insane.
Yep. Probably the most famous example is him literally pulling the adamantium out of his body. Like, while this didn't kill him, it irrevocably changed Wolverine until they retconned it and put the gene back in the bottle because status quo's got. But in any case, like, Magneto is the one. We always kept singing his praises. He is the best mutant, or at least in the Brotherhood. And I can't. There's not much more I can say. And also the fact that like he was one of the leaders of the new X-Men in the current run.
And then, like you said, like he's not. It depends on the storyline, but he's not evil for the sake of evil or take over most of the time. A lot of it is literally like like you mentioned, he's like in one of the worst time periods, being raised like that. He knows the level that humans will go to against humans. So let alone, people that are different against humans. So think about like with mutants, he understands this. He's like, it's not happening. I will not let that happen. And I love like, I consider him to be a master manipulator because he's so well spoken. Yeah. He knows how to just like play to people. And he's so different from, again, a Doctor Doom, where Doctor Doom is like, yo, I'm gonna be the overlord of the universe. And Magneto is just like, I'm gonna do what I believe is right for mutants. You can either join me or you better get out of the way. And I absolutely respect that. And he has a clean, depending on the fit, it's a really good fit.
Honestly, I'd say like most of his fits are clean. What you mean?
Clean. The red and purples are dope.
Oh yeah, but yeah, we gotta keep it moving. We gotta move from the best of the Brotherhood to the number 2.
Okay. I thought you were about to go the other way. We're talking about Mystique.
Oh yeah, we went from the best to the second in command, to Miss Mystique herself, Raven Darkholme, mother of Nightcrawler.
Perfection,
because she is master of shape shifting. She can turn into whoever she wishes.
Yes.
Woo!
A lot of boys' crushes in the early 2000s.
And yeah, so she's really great, like espionage, like keeping you on your toes, and she ride or die with Magneto until this current run of the X-Men, but not getting into that. And then she's also another prominent LGBT character with the character of Destiny, we're not gonna get into today, but yeah, another prominent one is like their relationship is kind of like is very sweet, similar to Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, but of course neither of them are that insane. Uh,
Yes.
but yeah, Mystique just all around phenomenal.
A really cool character, especially I like how they boosted her up in first class in Days of Future Past. I know I mentioned it why I think she got boosted, but I think they did a good job with that and just really giving that character more depth. Especially just like yeah, the first class like reboot I really loved. And like how it explored these characters that we saw previously and then seeing them all come together in Days of Future Past was absolutely incredible. So the next two, we're gonna lump them together. These, I was about to say these are the two juggernauts of it, but these are the two powerhouses of it. We have Sabretooth and Juggernaut.
Oh
And we're
man,
not gonna say his catchphrase.
I'm the Juggernaut. But yeah, Sabretooth is he an outright demon. Of course, he's notoriously known as a Wolverine's op. You think Green Goblin is Peter Parker's op? No, no, it is Wolverine versus Sabretooth. It is on site with them all day, every day, because basically they have the same powers. The only
Yeah.
difference is that instead of Wolverine's like bone claws, he gets like sharp like fingernails, so like claws.
Mhm.
And basically like it's kind of very interesting. You see their dynamic because it's like, all right, Wolverine's keeping his humanity while Sabretooth just gives it up naturally. Pause. But yes, like he is like he a demon.
And they
He's on
are
timing.
brothers, right?
Technically in the comics, no.
Okay,
But
because
in the
originally I was
movie,
like,
yes.
no, but yeah. Okay.
In the movie, yes. They are made to be brothers just to explain away why their power sets is literally the same.
You've talked about that before, where like the dark mirror of characters.
Yes. So Wolverine's Dark Mirror is literally Sabretooth, and ironically, Sabretooth did not appear like in X-Men comics first. He was an Iron Fist villain first.
Wow.
Yeah, he was Danny
Interesting.
Rand's villain before getting shunted to Wolverine when Marvel decided, oh wait, this actually works better. Um, and so good job. But then next person, Juggernaut. Oh dear Lord.
Whew.
Oh dear Lord. All right, where do I begin with this fool? Okay, so Kane Marco is the older stepbrother of Professor X. All right. So
Ooh.
that's the first thing that you know is off. And the fact that
Ooh.
Kane Marco, like, he bullies like Professor X when they were children. So again, you know that's on some activity. And then next up, right, is that he's not a mutant. He doesn't have mutant powers. What he is, right, is that he finds this crimson gem, this gem of Sidorak. Sidorak is a demon, and like he bestows the powers of the Juggernaut to him, which is that he gets super strong, amazing endurance and healing factor, and the fact of like, hey, once he starts moving, he can never be stopped. Uh,
Wow.
and hands down, like he is a powerhouse. Like, in fact, one of my favorite comics with Juggernaut, besides like actually his recent comic run, which he turned over New Leaf, like almost every villain on this list.
Yeah.
Uh, but he actually like one of the best ones when Spider-Man fought him. Well, actually, I have two. One is when Spider-Man fought him, and the other is when Venom fought him. Because
Ooh.
both of them went completely different. You see Spider-Man give it literally everything, and you just see Juggernaut just brushing it off, and you're just like, oh nah, nah.
That's
And
great. I have a go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying, then when Venom fought him, it was literally just down to the wire. It was almost just as bad, and it took Venom literally mutating into a bigger monster in order to take down Juggernaut.
Has Juggernaut ever fought Rhino in the comics?
I'm not sure, but if it did, then good Lord, goodbye, Rhino. Hold up,
Okay. I love it. I love it.
hold up. Let me see. Actually, no, it did not.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Because when you said Spider-Man, and I know he's fought Juggernaut before, I instantly thought of Rhino and how they like have similar like just like, oh, like especially in the games where you have to hop on top of Rhino and you ride him. So I really like that part. But yeah, Juggernaut is completely unstoppable.
True demon. True demon.
So I don't know if these are Brotherhood of Mutant ones, but I thought of them because we talked about Magneto a lot. But his two scions, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Ah, yes. Let's get into the controversy, shall we?
Oh,
So we know that they were Brotherhood of Evil Mutants for a while, and and of course they turned code, went to the Avengers. But it turns out in the comics, right, not only are they not Magneto's kids, they're also not mutants.
oh, I did not know that update.
Oh yeah, this was like in 2015. Like
Okay.
one of the biggest retcons, and the reason the retcon occurred was because Age of Ultron was coming out, and they were
Okay.
in it, so but they didn't have the rights to mutant yet, so of course comics decided to retcon them to no longer being mutants,
Mm.
which is trash. It's completely trash.
What was the word they used for it?
Hmm?
What was the new word they used for it in Ultron?
Enhanced.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was the word they used for them in the movie. They were enhanced humans. I'm just like, oh no, get this garbage out of here. But yeah, so technically not Magneto's kids, even though in like other continuities they still are his kids, and in my opinion, they are his kids. Like I don't care what anybody else says. I don't view any of like that retconning as canon, even though it clearly is. But I just keep that away from me.
We
Uh,
gotta we gotta update our rules for the draft to define that one way or the other.
yes you do, yes you do. But yeah, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, they're both not mutants.
Okay. So transitioning, we're gonna get to other ops. Speed through. Not all of them are mutants. They're just ops of the X-Men and also of the Brotherhood of Mutants. Humans, normal humans without powers.
Racism personified, folks. Yep, I'm about to get into all y'all's feels because the humans in the X-Men world are trash.
Terrible.
Like 99% of them are trash. I don't know why. Why would you discriminate against mutants even though they clearly have the power advantage? And I think that's the reason why, because y'all are scared that they'll take over, which I mean, at this point they will.
It's wild that humans hate mutants so much, and there are other superheroes that exist in the world.
Yes. Yeah, like nobody. Well, people do have a problem with the Hulk, but like
Well,
they don't have it.
well, yeah,
But they don't have it to that extent to mutants do. They don't have that much of a problem with Spider-Man.
yeah.
Like they don't have that much of a problem with Captain America.
I mean,
But
yeah,
but mutants. Oh no! As soon as you say, "Hey, oh yeah, I was born with my powers," all right, we kill this one.
yeah. I know, like in Civil War, it's mutants that kick it off, right? That the incident.
Actually, no.
Oh, okay.
No, mutants were not involved in the original Civil War comic. In fact, they actually elected to they were literally just on their own, like doing X-Men shenanigans, and then Civil War was happening elsewhere. They were not even involved. They were literally in their own corner doing nothing.
Because I know it was like the inexperienced heroes, but like
Yeah,
it's
the
like I
new
had never heard of them.
warriors, but
Okay, it
I'm
was
pretty
something
sure
like that.
I'm pretty sure like maybe one of them was a mutant, probably, but I'm not too sure on that. But they were not like X-Men or mutant affiliated.
Mm. Yeah, and it makes sense in like the movies because obviously it's so separated from Marvel at the time when Fox had it. But just like even in the comics and in the TV shows, and I think what is so crazy about it is that it's the perfect example of you create your own enemy
Mm-hmm.
by like just the hatred, and it fosters that hatred, and then it festers over time, and then all of a sudden now I have powers. Why the heck am I listening to your laws? Why does that apply to me? And it's just like, why am I going to listen to you? So it just creates that evil.
That cycle of hatred. Shout
Yeah,
out to Pain.
he tried to
Uh,
warn him.
but yeah, and one evil human of note is Bolivar Trask, because this man is such a has so much hatred for mutants that he ends up creating the next entry, which is Sentinels. Sentinels are mutant killing robots that were designed to identify mutants and then murder them on sight. Bro, they out of pocket so much so they created like multiple. There are not just regular sentinels, there are levels to sentinels, and like the higher levels you go, and you're just like, bro, like at some point, right? You're going to create a sentinel that literally is just gonna screw over humanity because at and this happened in the House of X storyline where it was they created essentially this thing called a mother mode, and it went to where like it had the cyclical reasoning of like, okay, in order to eliminate mutants, we need to exterminate the X gene. All right, where are the X genes found in? Regular people. So in order to kill all mutants, we got to kill all humans.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, the Sentinels in Days of Future Past were destroying all the mutants, and I believe like they adapt over time. So like you can body the
Mhm.
first couple of like generations of the Sentinels, but then obviously being connected, they send it back. They're like, hey, this person does this person does that. All right, let's upgrade, let's stop this, and just crazy. Like even in the comics and in the TV show, like you see like the destruction of it in that movie, just to see like it was over for them. Over. Sentinels are like unstoppable.
Oh yeah, nothing more to say here. Nothing more to say here about the Sentinels. They are out of pocket. And now going to another out of pocket one is Apocalypse. Uh, Hands down, probably the first mutant, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. He, of course, has the Egyptian theme. He that X-Men movie does not do him justice at all, because this man is a whole demon. So much so that like more often than not, the X-Men can't defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually due to shenanigans that he wins. I mean that he loses. Or Deus Ex Machinas. But yeah,
Yeah.
Apocalypse, supremely powerful, best known for having his four horsemen, which are typically like four other mutants that he imbues with more power to make them go and run roughshod on the entire world. Because
Mm-hmm.
he literally embodies like Magneto's philosophy of like, okay, get out of my way, or like we're taking over. No, he embodies literally like, hey, we are mutants. We are the next step. We are above humans, but I'm taking it a step further to kill all the humans and kill any mutants who don't roll with me.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, got that amazing character development in House of X. But yeah.
Nice. So yeah, nothing further to be said. So you want to touch on Mr. Sinister?
Oh yeah, Mr. Sinister is a comedic demon. Mr. Nathaniel Essex. He is actually for him, he's also human. Uh,
Yes.
yep, he's also a human. He typically rolls with but he rolls with genetics. So like he likes messing with people's genetics, specifically mutants. He likes mixing with his own genetics to give himself some powers every now and again. He's typically more of a science type to where he just experiments on mutants, creates like chimera level mutants where they like fuse powers. Like, all right, let's take Wolverine, let's merge him with Iceman. What do we get? And then we just roll from there. He's just a
Doesn't
demon.
he get powers from Apocalypse?
Yes, he does get it from Apocalypse sometimes because they typically are they work together. But yeah, and also he was teased in the New Mutants, but we know he ain't coming out anytime soon.
Absolutely not.
And
So with that, another popular one, just didn't know where to put her, Emma Frost.
yes, Emma Frost. Sometimes she's not, but more often than not, she's actually more of an X-Men. She like helped lead sometimes. She also has like telepathy powers, but she also has the diamond form, unbreakable sin and whatnot. Also like she's also one of the things that the boys thirst for. But then again, I'm not one of them. She runs the Hellfire Club. Uh, and probably the biggest thing that she ever did was wreck Scott Summers' whole life. Uh, by basically being the rebound girl, by basically having telepathic whoopee with Cyclops, and then Jean steps into the scene.
Lord have
Oh
mercy.
boy. You,
Yeah.
Maury show, please help.
Nice. So that was our big breakdown of the X-Men. Obviously, there's a lot more because we can't cover them all. But just with that, we did this preparation. A lot of the X-Men that we mentioned, you're going to hear about next week in our X-Men draft episode. So just get ready, lock in with our two special guests. I hope they're ready after hearing this one. And it's just going to be a fun, great time. So going from there, we're going to get into our sponsor, our second sponsor of the day.
For our second sponsor today, we over here at the Xavier Institution like to invite you to the nation of Krakoa. If you have an X gene in your veins, feel free to come through our Krakoan gates found all over the world, where in here you can have full range of your powers, and humans will not dare to come try and run our pockets unless they want to incur the wrath. You just have to follow the 5 Krakoan laws, and you will be set and ready to go. Now, if you're a human, you may also have range to come to Krakoa, and if you decide to become an ally, we can give you special medication to extend your lives by 5 years, to cure any disease, and to even make sure, hey, you get special times with these special X-Men. So please feel free to join the Krakoan Nation, because we will love to see all allies and all mutants under one dome.
Nice. So there we go. We had such a great, excellent day. Really hyped for it. Just even looking forward to next. Wait a minute. Wait, it's been too long. We haven't done this segment in too long, and now I'm scared. Let me step out because I hear some forces in the distance. It's our Black Air Force segment.
Yes. Yes, our dear listeners. We have ourselves the Black Air Force segment. And there are so many options that we can pick today to join the round table. There are some very honorable mentions that we can have. But there is one I want to highlight today. And his name is Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. Oh, where do I begin with that demon? He decides upon any time to just run anybody's pockets. He has a thing where, because of his ability of tracking with smelling, he can find you anywhere. So don't think like, hey, I escaped him or I ran his pockets. He's gonna come back for that round too. He's gonna come find you and he will tear you a new one. There are times, like in the comics, where he has, oh boy, every year on Wolverine's birthday, he comes and runs Wolverine's pockets. He does not care about life. He does not care about you. He don't care about himself. All he care about is stripping people of their humanities, stripping people of their guts, and murdering them on the spot. And then finally, another thing I would just want to highlight is this time where I don't know how else to put it. Oh my goodness, he's done so much, too much to mention, but I gotta highlight the time where he and Wolverine swapped bodies, and when they did, he ended up screwing so many people over in Wolverine's body. He made Wolverine look to be a total monstrosity. He tarnished Wolverine's legacy for a time to come, and then they swapped back and it was business as usual. They ran each other's pockets. And then also there's what happened on Krakoa, where he murdered a human, which goes against the Krakoan laws. Immediately broke the first law, just out of there. And when they sentenced him into exile inside basically Krakoa, his own evil mentality infected the island itself, and he freed himself from literally being under like 20 feet under the ground. He freed himself by literally infecting the island with his own evil. I don't know what else to say. Juggernaut is, I mean, not just Juggernaut ain't got nothing on Sabretooth. Victor Creed, please come take these Tims, because you don't just deserve Black Air Forces. In fact, here's a pair of Black Air Forces. I'm your ally, even though that probably won't save me. Just know that I know where to make it hurt with Wolverine, but you do too. Know what? It's wraps for me. Venom, please come help me out right now.
Wow, yeah, that definitely was a excellent choice. It was not what I was expecting, but after you just outlined it for me and the listeners, I would absolutely say that that was an excellent choice. X-Men is such an expansive universe of different cast of characters, and I'm so glad that we got to explore that today and then celebrate them also next month as we get to it. Well, next week as we get to our draft. So, any recommendations that you have?
Of course, I recommend all of the X-Men films except X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men Dark Phoenix and Age of Apocalypse. Those are the only three I do not recommend, but you can.
Oh, there's another one
Which one?
that took 7 years to come out.
And New Mutants is
I
you can
haven't seen
watch.
it. I heard it's bad.
I mean, it ain't great. It ain't great, but at least it doesn't like tarnish anything.
That's fair.
Like unlike Age of Apocalypse, which ruins Apocalypse, unlike Dark Phoenix, which ruined the Dark Phoenix saga, unlike X-Men Origins, which ruined everything, New Mutants it was just over there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but you can find all of these, including Deadpool 1 and 2, on Disney Plus,
Yes.
which is kind of wild. But yeah, you can find all those on Disney Plus. And then in terms of different channels, please just go watch Blurred Without Fear. He is my homie. He is my brother. And he covers all the X-Men comics, especially the current ones now, as well as the Next Issue podcast with my boy Danny. He also does X-Men content as well.
We're getting you one day, Blurred Without Fear. We're calling you out.
One day, I'll get you in.
If we have to send people. It'll happen. So
I know which state you live at. In fact, I know which city you live at.
that would be funny. I hope he hears this. So, anything else with the Rex?
I mean,
Okay.
that is the main recommendations for me.
So yeah, like you said, with that, only other thing to be out on the lookout for, X-97 is coming out at some point.
Woo!
I have no idea when. So maybe this year, maybe next year. It's just whenever it falls into the phase 5, 6 realm of possibility. Another thing, if you go to X-Men on Netflix, there are some kind of anime style type X-Men TV shows and movies on there. It's really cool. I know, like, just like the storylines are really popular. And another one that's really cool is Hulk versus Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
That goes crazy. So yeah.
Yep,
And
that is crazy.
so moving forward, kind of just like projecting, this is one of our few podcasts for a while that's just gonna be the two of us. So next week we're gonna have our X-Men draft with two guests. That's gonna be a really fun time. Week after, we're planning an interview with an author. That's gonna be especially interesting. I got to a really good part in the book that I talked to Meech about. And then from there, we're going to have an anime romance episode, which is going to be out of pocket. And then afterwards, Ant-Man Quantumania. So that's kind of what you have to look forward to for the next few weeks. And we can get to our plugs. Yeah.
All right. So for our plugs, we got ourselves our Instagram and Twitter, Blurred City 22. We come give us a follow, like, and subscribe. We also got ourselves our YouTube and our Patreon, which is at Blurred City Pod. Come for the Patreon, come give us a little cheddar. Then hey, you're able to access exclusive content, and that you may or may not see ever again. And then of course we have our Discord, which is linked in our Instagram, that gives you a great community to join. And then finally, we got ourselves our email, which is blurredcity22@gmail.com, where you can submit Geek Out Freak Out sections, random fan theories, questions for our Q&A sessions, or just suggestions for the channel overall. And hey, we enjoy y'all and hope to see y'all soon. In terms of personal page, I have a TikTok, which is the Rogue Jedi 21, which I try to upload content weekly. Sometimes I may or may not make that mark, but hey, I upload juicy content either way. So, hey, what do you got?
For me, you can check out my personal author pages for my Instagram, Mitri underscore dash. So that's METRI underscore DASH. And my Twitter at the mad dash 16. And if you're interested in buying my book, Fans and Pains, and Most Regular Tale, you can catch that on Amazon. In terms of just our Patreon, like you mentioned, we're going to have something either towards the end of this month or early February. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's a new segment that we're going to try out. We'll announce it as it comes. And then we're also working on trying to get our gaming channel up and going at some point in the early Q1, Q2 of this year. So with that, we're just going to leave you some words of encouragement.
All right. So for my words of encouragement is that in life, just everyone is equal. Okay. Like discrimination and racism, of course you may just know it already. It's like, hey, it's wrong, and like it you just hear it all the time. But just really think about it. Just think about like what would happen if it was you. Think about like what would happen if it was you or somebody you loved who was facing such hatred in the world. So please just treat each other with fairness and kindness, because that's the only way we can keep going as a species, the only way that we can keep going as a people.
Yeah, I love what you said. And for me, I would say to the people, if you're born, that means you have a right to live. So, despite what anyone tells you, or even what you tell yourself, like we saw with some of the X-Men, like wrote, you have a right to live. Whether you have quirks, abnormalities, things that you're dealing with, mentally, physically, or just different, it's okay. So with that, you have right to live, and it doesn't put you in a box. We oftentimes live with just like terms and labels, but we can grow outside of that. And even if it's labels that we put on ourselves or labels that people put on us, we're so much more than just a label. And just like Magneto said, the real you is perfection. So going from there, it's not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blurred City podcast.
See ya later.